Hello, I am Danette Batiste, CEO and co-founder of Healthy Heart Nation. Here at Healthy Heart Nation, we believe that health is more than a number on a blood pressure cuff. It's about the condition that shape how people live, work, and thrive. In February of 2023, we launched the Pressure Project with one clear goal: to save lives by stopping high blood pressure through early intervention and education. Since then, we've taken over 5,000 blood pressure measurements in trusted community spaces like churches and barbershops, expanding to 21 sites across 6 states, including Alabama, California, Georgia, New Jersey, Maryland, and Texas. We're proud of that progress, but we also know this: the community cannot be physically healthy if it is not financially healthy. When financial stress drives daily decisions, it impacts mental health, heart health, and long-term outcomes. That's why our mission looks beyond healthcare alone, applying the social determinants of health across health, business, education, and justice. So tonight, I welcome you to our podcast, and April is Financial Literacy Awareness Month. And so I am going to talk to two young men who have dedicated their lives to ensuring that the community is aware of what they need to do, not only to be successful in life, but also to be successful financially. So I want to introduce Jimmy Power. He works with growth-minded professionals, high-income earners, and small business owners who want more control, less waste, and a plan that reflects the life they're actually building. So welcome, Jimmy. Thank you so much for joining the podcast today.
Thank you, Danette, for having us on. Really excited. I think what the Healthy Heart Nation is doing is just incredible, especially for our community. I want to say that we tend to ignore our health a lot more.
Yeah.
For those who do not, there's a huge trust gap, and so being able to just have people have access to heart monitor and readings and just helping them really understand those things is one that is really important in our community. So I really enjoy the work that you guys are doing. Thanks for having me here.
Thank you so much for being here. And we are also joined by your work partner, Jamal Thompson. And
Awesome.
he is committed to helping families and business owners create, build, and preserve wealth. His passion lies in empowering his clients to achieve their financial goals. And he loves building relationships with good people who are open minded. So, Jamal, welcome to our podcast tonight.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and echo the same sentiments. Everyone on this phone probably has someone who's been highly affected by whether health changes, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, financial, and
Yes.
especially being able to just be ongoing resources for the community. That's what we wake up and do it for. So super excited just to be able to spread knowledge and spread information today.
Yeah, so I'm going to tell everyone how we met. And it was through a referral. So, someone that I know and trust, I'll just drop his name, Lennox Bell, gave my information to you, Jamal, to reach out to me about, the services that you all provide. And so we scheduled a call, and I had the opportunity to meet Chimmy as well on that call. And, we talked about the financial situations, and I'm already kind of taken care of, I'm air quoting, taken care of in that way. But as we talked about what Healthy Heart Nation was doing, it resonated with each of you. And by the time we got off the call, you all weren't, you all didn't close me as a client, but I closed you all to join as a Healthy Heart Nation. And you all you said, listen, we are passionate about this, whether we're working with you or not. We want to make sure that we can help the community. And you joined as business ambassadors for Healthy Heart Nation so that we can get this information out and into the hands of the people who need it most. So I want to, first of all, thank you all for being open to sharing your gift with me and also sharing your gift with the community.
Yeah, honestly, it is a pleasure for us to be part of what you guys are doing, and I think in this world, or at least now here in the states, collaboration has been it's people don't look at collaboration anymore as a genuine idea. They look at it as
Yes.
a very monetary idea, and I think there's a place and time for that. But in addition to that, when you can align yourself with other like-minded individuals and organization who is really trying to improve the overall community, it's that rising tide that lifts all ship. One, but also it helps build a thriving community in the most efficient and rapid fashion. So we're really excited to partner with you guys and as ambassadors, just really help not only be able to financially educate people, but to actually help them walk from step A to the finish line. Because a lot of times people think we get paid just to make your money. That's one thing, but we are really getting paid to act as a sounding board and a thinking partner and a strategy partner. And
Yeah.
last but not the least, an accountability partner who just keeps you accounted for and keeps your behavior in check. As much as people would hate to say it, your money, it's your money and you have emotional tie to your money. So yeah.
Yeah, and Jamal, just in terms of like the awareness piece, right? So we talked about what we're doing with blood pressure, right? And so we're in the community and we're taking blood pressure awareness. A lot of people don't even know that they have high blood pressure. And I think that a lot of people, and I'm speaking, I already told you all, I'm speaking to the choir myself, because it's sometimes if you think that the information you're going to get is uncomfortable, you don't really want to know what it is. But can you share with us a little bit about why it is important to have a high level of financial awareness in terms of where you are now and where you're trying to go?
Of course. And I'll take one step back. It's always good just to be aware of everything in totality. I'm a double HBCU graduate. I'm a Bison, also a Bronco. And the number one thing that I got, especially learned early on, especially in my time in undergrad, is that our impact is needed everywhere. And especially if it's like, let's say, for example, someone's really passionate about the legal space and someone's really passionate about the medical space. Whatever industry that you're in, we need more people that look like us to let people know what else is out there and what's possible. And
Absolutely.
very, very similar to what Jamil said, like being a sounding board, being accountability partners. It's really the education piece that ties it all together, because really just being aware of what are potential opportunities, but also potential risks. We find that most people, they mean well, but they don't always do well. And it's very similar to the legal world. If you break a law, you're going to jail. It doesn't matter if you know the law or not. So making sure that people are aware and also just able to point them in the right direction in a judgment-free zone, because also just knowing about the history of finance in this country, it hasn't always been the most kind. And also, like, it plays into the psychology of things, these multi-generational opportunities, but also sometimes curses. Want to make
Yeah.
sure that everything is taken into account, because we carry that baggage for better or for worse.
Yeah, that's so true. That is so true. So, Timmy, what sparked your interest in financial services and what made you decide that this was the work you wanted to dedicate your life to?
Wow. It's a really good question. Um, I never woke up one day and said, today I'm going to be a financial advisor, or what I want to do is be a financial advisor planner. Actually,
Okay.
never, I never did. I fell into this.
Okay.
And I really did. I've been an entrepreneur since I was what 19 years old. Since I was a young adult, actually.
Okay.
I've only truly worked for an actual employer. And that's because that was like a business mentor to me. So
Okay.
I had a edible arrangement store,
Okay.
edible arrangement store, and he really taught me a lot of things about business. But I also
Okay.
come from a family of business people, savvy people, and
Nice.
business was the way.
Okay.
And so I'm Nigerian by birth, but I grew up
Okay.
in Oakland, California before I relocated to Sacramento, California. And
Okay.
so I found myself after high school is pursuing a professional soccer. I was trying to be a soccer professional soccer player, and
Okay. So that means you were good. That was right.
I was. And so at some point in that journey, I realized, man, I'm at this age and I'm not really at the level I needed to be at. Yes, I'm at a
Okay.
further level, but I'm not exactly where I needed to be at. But
Okay.
what's coming next and what's realistic? So, like most athletes, they know the crossroad, and it's hard to give up something you've been chasing for some time. And so, like luckily for me, my coach at the time just made it very impossible for me to see a future moving forward,
Okay.
just because of the way he handled things. And I began an altercation, and ended up really just not liking the sport for a minute because
Okay.
how
Okay.
much I felt like he impacted my next level decisions. And so I stepped
Mm.
over that, and then I started business, and
Okay.
I also was continuing my education at the time at Sacramento State College, while I had started a transportation company with three business owners. My
Mm-hmm.
main partner got into a divorce, and had to relocate to Texas. So I ended up buying them out, and then we started growing the company and downsized it.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward, started airside tour scene company. It's a four-seater plane. You can go and do airside scene and whatnot with a loved one, or just whoever you want to. And then I eventually transitioned to the tech startup. So I had a
Okay.
tech startup company that was connecting
Mm-hmm.
professional transportation travelers with
Okay.
people who are looking for professional chauffeur services, whether
Okay.
you're in the professional side or just a regular person. And so the pandemic happened. We were raising capital. Pandemic happened, and my mentor at the time said, "Hey, nobody knows what the pandemic is going to look like at all." And so we
Mm-mm.
didn't know times where it was a difficult time actually.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody was traveling anywhere. Nobody knew what was to happen afterwards. And so
Mm-mm.
I got approached by a recruiter, and basically the managing partner for the Northwestern mutual region in our region was recruiting for advisors and people who were already
Okay.
business savvy. And the deal at the time is you can run and grow your own firm through the Northwestern Mutual umbrella, and they will sponsor 2 years of expenses and XYZ for you to
Mm-hmm.
help you with your firm. I'm like,
Okay.
I don't know that's what I wanted to do. So I talked to my mentor at the time and said, hey, you know what? This is something you should look into because we don't know where the tech space is and your transportation
Mm-hmm.
space, pandemic happening, but this is something that you can get into and while you're figuring that stuff out. So I took a trip to Vegas with my friends and I came back. I was like, all right, let's go do this. So I
Okay.
really didn't know what I was getting into. I, like most of us black folks, we come from hardworking family. Nobody really. We thought hard work is the way to go. You work hard, you're gonna be fine.
Yes. Right.
But I came into a rude awakening. I've learned so
Mm.
much in my 5 years of being a financial planner and a financial advisor, and I learned a lot. There's so many people we come across who make good money, but they don't have it together. Um,
Right.
they don't
Or
have
have
it.
it today.
They don't
Right.
have it, and the reason why is
Yeah.
because building wealth and financial security is actually only built by design, and you
Mm.
have to design it strategically to make it make sense. And
Okay.
we have to partner your hard work with strategy to help it be intentional. So that's how I came about becoming a financial planner, and I realized
Okay.
that I truly, really enjoy not
Okay.
only helping my family build wealth and bridge the gap of the lack of knowledge I knew about money and building
Okay.
and making money decisions, but
Mm-hmm.
also I enjoy meeting people of different walks of life and enjoying what drives them and what is trying to help them, what they're working towards, and then helping them really map out a plan that allows them
Okay.
to be more intentional and get into that place in the most efficient way possible, but doing it in the most tax efficient way, because that's the missing
Okay.
piece, right? So that's my story, and that's how I got into the industry.
Okay. All right. I mean, so it makes sense. So the business hustle is what brought you into this space, especially as it relates to the pandemic. It was challenging. And even when you think about it, it feels like, I don't know if it feels like it was so far away, but it was only almost, 6 years ago, when the world literally turned upside down.
Yeah.
So, it speaks to your ability to pivot, in the face of those challenges. So Jamal, what happened? What sparked your interest in financial services?
Yeah, great question. Great question. So when I was in undergrad, I always knew I wanted to make an impact in the community.
Okay.
But I also had very distinct passions. So I was always interested in law. I always liked numbers. I love sports. My major undergrad
Okay.
was management, community development minor, and honestly, undergrad, I really loved my experience. I loved what I was learning really every day, and also with that, I felt like it was going to be a great jumping board for me to go to law school. So
Okay.
I got a lot of law internship experience. Shout out to Stratton Barbie. He's an attorney out in the Sacramento area. It's my first internship after my summer year with my good friend Kalechi Onaniwu. Um,
Okay.
After my freshman year of college, and
Nice.
really worked my way up. Just more and more experiences. I worked with the National Bar Association. Worked with, which is the largest association of Black attorneys in the world.
Nice.
Also worked with a couple of the largest, including the largest firm in DC. Still the
Okay.
largest today, and I found that the law life. I was like, hey, lawyers, they do cool work, but I don't know if I really like the workflow. So
Okay.
I graduated. I was a year out of school. Every single attorney I talked to, and I've never seen this being so unanimous in anything, even to this day.
Okay.
And if you're watching this and you're considering the space, please take heed to this advice. Every single
Okay.
attorney told me to take a gap year. The ones that didn't, you can see the trauma in their eyes.
Okay. Okay.
So I was like, okay, let me take the gap year. The LSAT, and I'm someone who's super motivated. I get my work done, I get the job done. However, there was something in my spirit about the LSAT that was not motivating me, not one drop. And
Okay.
that is a sign more than anything, because it's like, hey, everything else in life I'm getting after. This thing is not intriguing me. So I did some more research. Decided to actually get my MBA. So that's how I became a Bronco. Went to Fayetteville State University. Um,
Okay.
Still, while I was working full time in the legal space, I was considering climbing up the legal ladder and more so the business operations side. Um,
Okay.
However, so I started out as a management major. However, just looking at the courses, I'm like, hey, I'm paying. I was blessed to get a scholarship undergrad, so left with minimal undergrad debt. But MBA, I had to
Nice.
pay out of pocket, so I was like, hey, if I'm going to pay for this, I'm going to take classes I enjoy. I'm going to get every penny out
Okay.
of it. So
Mm-hmm.
looking at the courses, the finance courses were just jumping off the page. They just looked super exciting. And so I was like, hey, instead of management, which those looked a little boring to me, not to judge any management folks out there. Then also I seen there was an entrepreneurship course that had finance as well. So I got essentially like credits for both. So it made sense for me to do a double concentration of finance and entrepreneurship. Um, Also around this time, about 3 to 6 months after I graduated, I started working with a financial planner at the firm that I'm working at now, Northwestern. And
Okay.
he was working with me throughout my time in my MBA program. And in my last semester, because I graduated December 2021, in my last semester, an advisor from another firm, he's based down in Maryland, he reached out to me. I took the meeting. True transparency, mainly because he's a Black man. I wanted to be able
Okay.
to just be like, hey, what could I be able to be a resource for him? How could I be able to learn from him? How could I just see everyone grow? I'm super big in just making sure that the community has the resources that it needs. I'm a connector by nature. So
Right.
we get a call, and I'm like, hey, man, it's actually very similar to how Danette let us know, like, hey, I'm taken care of. All I's dotted, all T's crossed. And he was like, hey, that's awesome. I was actually looking to recruit you. And
Okay.
I laughed. I laughed. Not on the call, but
Mm-hmm.
after. No way I'm doing that. And
Right.
I'm someone that I'm very spiritual, and
Mhm.
very similar to the LSAT. You know, whenever I'm getting signs, whenever I'm getting gut intuitions that are really
Mhm.
pointing me in a direction, I'm going to listen. And my gut was telling me like, "Hey, you got to talk to someone about this." Like we talked to maybe like in August time. It was like October, and it was replaying in my the phrase that he told me was that, "Hey, with your financial entrepreneurship concentrations, this is one of the few careers that you can combine both." And
Okay.
that phrase stuck in my head for weeks,
Mhm.
and then it became months, and I was like, "Okay, I have to do something about this." I reached out to my
Mhm.
officer, and he was like, "It's a no brainer." He's like, I honestly, I thought that you would have been a good fit years ago.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
was like, you know what? You're someone not taking the financial advice from years. I trust you. Have a great friendship even to this day.
Mhm.
So now we're business partners, and yeah, that's how I got the ball rolling. And very similar to Chimmy, I come from a family of entrepreneurs. That's something that's a common theme between entrepreneurs. It's usually something in the bloodline. You know, just like
Okay.
how when you look at even athletes, when you look at other
Mhm.
professions, a lot of times there are other family members who do that similar or in that same line of work. So
Okay.
I had the entrepreneurial bloodline, and I just love the number side, and where I really value the work that we do now relative to what I thought the legal path would have been is we're way more people focused. You know,
Okay.
especially working in the big law space, there's a lot of times where I would be seeing information inside the law firm about, hey, we're looking out for this big company, we're looking out for this corporation, and then they're on the news, and people are like weeks later they're on the news, and people are frustrated that, hey, how come they're not being held liable? And it's like, yeah, because they got
Right.
some attorneys in the world working on their cases.
Mhm.
So wanting to make sure that we're people first, like
Yeah.
super wanted to make sure that genuine relationships are being built. It just became a no brainer when
Okay.
looking at what should I do after my MBA. So I graduated December. Took a month off. Me
Okay.
and my fiance now we did a little bit of traveling. I went up to Jersey. I was living in DC at the time. Got some
Okay.
nice relaxation, some nice sleep, and then February I was up and rolling with business because just wanted to make sure that to hit the ground running and start making as much impact. And that was 2022. And been honestly loving the journey ever since. And exactly what Chimmy was saying, we find that it's really more so of the structure. You know, what type of structure could we be able to help implement? Can we be able to add a pillar to someone's plan? Could we maybe move a pillar because they might be over allocated in a space? But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, being able to align your dollars with your values is a lot harder than what it might sound because it's a
Okay.
moving goalpost. Even recently, we just had to change with the Federal Reserve chairman.
Mm.
It's like that's
Mhm.
going to be a long term change when it comes to the U.S. dollars and how people are able to
Yeah.
borrow and a lot of things that trickle down. So making sure that as long as Chimmy and I are attached to that goalpost, our clients don't need to be. So we can save them a lot of time, effort, energy.
I like that. So thank you for that. And you all just kind of really mentioned something that is so important. It is the benefit of mentorship. It's also important, that people see themselves in those spaces. And so in both of your situations, you were able to see, people who look like you or you could connect to. And a lot of times that's fantastic if you can get that in your families. But unfortunately, a lot of our younger people don't have that. So I definitely see you all as being really strong resources for those people in the community to see it and to better understand it, and hopefully they can attain that as well. So many people feel intimidated by money conversations. Like I'm one of them. I grew up in a household, and it's like we could talk about anything, but when it was time to talk about the money, it was a little bit of a challenge because, and sometimes, we were really trying very hard to make ends meet, right? But what's one common myth or misconception that you see holding people back the most? And Chimmy, we can start with you.
Yeah. Man, I love this. I think there is one of the biggest myths that I challenge everyone every time is
Mm,
People think that you need to be wealthy for you to need financial planning.
okay.
That's one.
Yes.
That's one of the myths there. And it
Okay.
doesn't matter if you're making $5 a day, $3 a day, $1 million a day. There is a level of financial planning that you need,
Okay.
right? And
Okay.
so there's usually going to be about maybe two sides of the fence. You're going to need some foundational planning, and there's more advanced planning, sophisticated planning. Now, the people
Okay.
who are past here who might not need them, who might not be on this side of the fence, but there might be, you've done some foundational planning, but there's still something here that is missing. You're making good money, but you don't call it more optimizational planning, right? Then we have
Okay.
people who already have money, and there's a lot more complex work and planning that need to be done. And so
Okay.
it doesn't matter if you're here, you're starting out, or you're here, or here. There are different levels of financial planning. And
Okay.
so, what people typically confuse financial planning with is investing money, right? Investing money is
Yes.
an aspect of financial planning, and it's an offensive side, but there's other things that are involved in financial planning. So that is one myth that
Okay.
I like to really point out very quickly. It doesn't matter where you're at. There are levels of financial planning that are needed.
Okay. And so Jamal, what is another one of those myths?
Yeah, great question. I love this question, and I say the number one thing I find is that there's no silver bullet. I find that people are like, "What's the one thing I need to do?" And it's like it's very similar to when you go to the doctor. They're like, "Hey, how can I be healthy?" They're not just going to tell you drink water, and they're not
Right.
going to tell you just exercise or sleep 8 hours or have a balanced diet.
Right.
It's usually a combination of multitude of things. And
Mm,
another thing that actually another business partner we were talking about earlier is that there's no best tool.
mm.
Now, there may be a tool that fits your situation the best.
Okay.
However, say that, oh yeah, my savings account is better than my retirement account, or my property is better than my business, or that's the best asset for me to have, period, or the best for everyone to have. That's just not true because it's very
Okay.
dangerous to have blanket statements in finances because everyone's
Mm,
situation is unique and every
okay.
account, every tool is unique. They all have the
Okay.
tax code does a really, really good job of making sure that nothing has too much and other
Mhm.
things too little. So being
Okay.
able to have as much diversification as possible, you can
Okay.
maximize the pros of different tools and resources and accounts while minimizing the cons. So, for example, not having to use your home equity to go get groceries,
Mm,
or not having to use your home, excuse me, make early withdrawals from your retirement account to take care of emergencies.
right. Wow. I'm gonna sit with that for a little while because those, I mean, that really makes it plain because when you think of financials, a lot of times it's easy to start to just be intimidated by your ability to understand it. But it sounds like that you're saying that there's no one strategy, that you've got to diversify, and it's important to better understand where you are in the market versus having to look at where other people are. It's one of those situations where you don't need to compare yourself to somebody else when you're looking at it. Okay, so that's fantastic. So Chimmy, financial literacy often isn't taught early or openly. So what's one thing that you wish people understood about money sooner in life?
It's a good question. And before I answer that question, I think one of the reasons financial literacy is not being taught, and there are laws that are starting to happen to change these things, is because if you look at our society, it's built to to create revenue and capital out of ignorance, right? The more ignorant you are, the more expensive your life is, right?
Because you
Because you're making a lot of mistakes, and it's painful, especially in retirement planning. Like, a lot of people
okay.
don't really understand all the intricate details that have to be made for you to just recreate income from the nest egg you've already created for retirement, right? So it's like that. It's the climb from Everest, which is Mount Everest, which is much more crucial because there's a lot more decisions to be made versus when you're climbing up, right? So, um, but I say that to say at the end of the day as well, people have to really take it upon themselves to go outside the box to just find educational basic things to build financial literacy with. Because if you're waiting for the government to have it for you or this reason to provide it for you, it's not. Because look at the credit card system, right? That puts you in. That's what makes money. Why are some credit cards 27% interest rate? Why do we have
Right.
payday loans places as business? These things are set up and because of ignorance, right? They know
Mhm.
people don't know these things, and so
Yes.
they strip you of basic education,
Right.
and now your pockets are leaking. Now you become a slave to the lender,
Right.
and being a slave to the lender just is a cycle of a machine that just keeps working and keep working and paying people back. So,
Yeah.
I think ignorance is one. And sorry, repeat the question again.
So it's just talking about financial literacy not being taught often enough. So in terms of what do people need to know about finances and money sooner in life?
Yeah,
And so it sounds like did not get caught in the cycle
do
of
not get yes. This should
pay.
as much as I want to say this, it sounds really it might sound come off a little egoistic, but we have so much resources out there for us to go lean into and learn. Now, I do agree that there's a lot of repeated nonsense out there, and a lot of it's hard for you to filter things through. But think about it this way: we all have doctors that we go to for
Mhm.
whatever we have. If you look at different profession, if you have a dentist, you have a dentist XYZ.
Yes.
Right? You should have someone who have expertise in something that you want that you can go to and talk to, or like, hey,
Yes.
what can I be doing? And there are also basic things like learning. Okay, what is my cash flow? As a matter of fact, one thing that everybody has to know, it doesn't matter where you're at or where you're not, is how much income is coming in and how much income is going. How much is going out monthly? What are my expenses like? How much do I
Yes.
need to survive at? Everyone should have or do something called a cash flow audit. It starts
Okay.
there by knowing what comes in and what you spend. Once you
Okay.
know those things, your surplus and your difference now allows you to determine what you should be doing. Most
Yes.
people,
Decision making. How you make your
exactly.
decisions. Okay.
Most people just go ahead and you just live life on the whim. So I think one important thing that I would suggest people to do is just master your cash flow. Know what your
Okay.
surplus looks like in your high months, low months, and mid months. Because once you do, you know what that number is, and then slowly hey, okay, maybe I can put a couple of dollars away to savings. Maybe I can pay off my debt with this. Maybe I can do X, Y, Z. So those are things that I'll recommend.
Hmm.
Master your cash flow for sure.
I mean, that sounds really simple, but as it relates to just really looking side by side and what you're spending and what you have coming in, really being able to see it helps you make better decisions on how you're going to do X, Y, and Z in your life. So that's just very simple, practical information that I don't think people think about. Because, if they did that comparison, then they might not buy those shoes. And I'm speaking again to myself. But when you don't really, I don't really know, whatever. You make the decisions, but you do pay for them later, especially as it relates to those high interest credit cards, like that you spend $1,000 and 10 years later you're still paying on that same bill. So Jamal, when you're like looking at certain things, something as simple as that, what is your recommendation for people who are trying to get out of their credit card debt? What's a
Yeah,
simple strategy for doing that on a practical level? And
yeah, great.
I'm asking for a friend.
Yeah, so two things. two things that I would say. One is especially like on the cash flow audit side, getting a good understanding about where the money's actually going to. You
Okay.
know, because sometimes when it comes to credit card debt, it's because of things out of our control. Like I have clients where it's like, hey, they got into credit card debt because there was a family emergency when they were out
Yes.
of work after another emergency. Some people get into credit card debt because they like spending on a couple of things, or they're like, hey, my future self will pay for it. The latter is it gets a little slippery slopish, you know, because then the later you is like, hey, the later me, the later me, and then it starts to compound from there. So getting a
Okay.
good understanding about how did it come to be? That's really the first
Okay.
question.
Okay.
And also tied to that, if it is the former of where like life just happened, we didn't happen to have the liquidity for it.
Mhm.
I like to call it financial remorse. You know, a lot of times people, whether especially when they didn't know that there were other options or other resources, they really beat themselves up about previous decisions, and they really carry a lot of financial remorse. And what that does is
Yes.
it slows you down. You know, it really prevents you from being able to be like, hey, there's another opportunity. Let me make a move at that. You're thinking about things that you did 10 years ago to be like, hey, I made a mistake when I made a move.
Yes.
I wasn't as educated when I made that move 10 years ago, but I still made that move. Compared to
Right.
now, it could be hey, it checks everything off the list, but because of that financial remorse, it's slowing me down. And
So
sometimes,
give yourself grace.
100%, I believe that giving yourself grace is a huge piece in the first place, because just being able to take that sigh of relief, look in the mirror, and be like, hey, this is what I need to fix. And also just know that it's possible. You know, I think that's a really, really big piece. The second, and that's the more psychological side. On the more
Okay.
tangible, give your bank a call. Right now, we're seeing record highs when it comes to car
Mm.
repo, credit card debt, and exactly what Chimmy said. This country runs off debt. If you look at
Mm.
our country, literally just surpassed our national debt, just surpassed our GDP for the second time in American history since like the 1940s. So
Wow.
just the whole system, it profits on our debt. There's a reason why student loans are pushed. You
Mhm.
can't get a business loan out of school, but you get a $200,000 student loan. You know,
Yes.
you could struggle to probably get $100,000 mortgage, but you could get that
Mhm.
student loan, because that student
Okay.
loan is going to keep you working for decades.
Wow.
But
Okay.
a tangible thing that could be done is giving your bank a call, because your
Okay.
debt is an asset to them. Even though it's a liability for you, it's an asset for them. So if you can
Okay.
call the bank and be like, hey, and hey, if you want to fluff it up a little bit, you know, that's perfectly fine. Like, hey, this other bank, they gave me 24 months, 0% interest if I roll my money over to them. Every
Okay.
month, what your bank does is they give that debt to other people to buy. So that 30
Mm.
interest that you're paying on your credit card, other people other than the bank are getting parts of that money. So it's
Okay.
like that bank is profiting. So they don't want to lose out on whatever that nest egg of profit is if you were to transfer that to another bank. So
Okay.
they may say no, especially if it's certain situations. It's not a guarantee. However, being able to pause your interest can at least be able to get some momentum, because a lot of times when I
Okay.
talk to
So
people
that.
about cards, it's really the interest. Yeah, they
Mhm.
really frustration. You know, it's like sometimes they have the capacity to pay off the whole debt, but then it's like a whole conversation about a couple other things. But it's like the interest, Jamal. Like that's what's really annoying me every month. My minimum payment's $400, and interest is 200. So I only pay $200. How it feels, and it's
So
like
what does that call look like to the bank, or what does that sound like? What are you saying in that instance, other than, hey, I can move all of this off? Is there a way to ask for a lower percentage rate or something like that as well?
yes, indeed, yes, indeed. So I would treat it very similar to a car sales negotiation. Car salesman
Okay.
is very flexible. I'm not sure if people know. There's a lot of flexibility. Now, there's of course the MSRP bottom line that you have to meet with the car for the dealership to make money, but there's a lot of flexibility. I've seen people that get hosed for their monthly payment, and I've seen people that get great monthly payments. But it's really in the negotiation, how much you're putting down, whole nine. Very similar with this. Being able to be like, hey, I might have another offer on, like I say, you know, if you need to, hey, the banks are getting plenty from you. If you need to add a little flair to get the ball pushed across, let's make sure you and your family are good. The bank's going to be fine. Letting them know, like, hey, I've been receiving options to be able to either consolidate my debt or to roll my debt over to another institution for a lower interest rate. Hey, I've been a customer for
And you do. Yeah.
I like the work that you guys are doing. However, this makes too much sense. This makes absolutely sense for me and my family. And honestly, like, I would like to keep my money here. However, it has to make sense for the family. And like paying the whatever interest rate that I'm paying now compared to none for 24 months, I could pay off this debt completely.
Right.
What
okay. No. That sounds fantastic. So I've got a question from the field. I got a question from the streets.
Okay.
And so I'm going to give this to you, Jimmy. And the question is it too late for you to build your finances in your 50s?
It's a great question, actually. There's that saying, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with one. But I'm also gonna take it a little further. If you don't build it in your 50s, you're gonna be in your 60s wondering if
asking the same question.
If you would have had a better life if you had built it in your 50s. So one of the biggest things that Jamal and I always ask to our clients when we are trying, or when we first engage to work with clients, is one, we cannot work with you if you cannot give yourself grace. You have to be able to give yourself grace.
Forgive yourself.
And give yourself grace. Because one thing that's important, you don't know what you don't know. Because a lot of people are operating on ignorance. Right?
And they're counting on us to operate in that way, right?
Yes. So you got to give yourself grace. But now you know. What are we going to do moving forward? Right? So a philosophy that I like to share with my clients about saving and investing is very simple. When you are saving money, all you're doing is just giving your future self a peace of mind. You're time traveling and you're giving your future self a peace of mind. You say, hey, Chimmy, by the time you're in your 50s, here's money I'm giving to you. Right? So that's what you're doing. So starting at 50 is giving yourself in your 60s a peace of mind, right? And then investing, though, which is a little different from saving, still saving, but saving a different way, is buying your future self freedom. Now, saving gives you a peace of mind, investing buys you freedom. So at some point, you want to shift from saving to investing, because this is where the freedom is. Your money is working for you around the clock. Saving, your money just sits there and it gives you a cushion. But when you're investing your dollars, you're just having money work around the clock, which you cannot work around the clock because you got to sleep. You can only clock in 8 hours. So people clock in more, but then it doesn't lead to healthy hearts, right?
But what about the risk of the investment piece? Like, aren't you taking a risk?
Well, you're also taking a risk by not having your money work for you.
Okay.
Have people
so
you gotta think about it that way, right?
No, that makes sense.
And people always, when I sit down and people say, well, I never invested before, I ask them, do you have a 401k? And they all say yes. Well, you are investing, right? The difference is your money sitting there growing and you're not thinking about it because you know you can't even touch this money for retirement, right? So as you're thinking about stuff, we position ourselves in 4 ways. There's 4 buckets you want to put money into. Short-term money you need within 2 years, mid-term 2 to 10 plus, 2 to 10, then long-term 10 plus, and then retirement. Most Americans are doing a good job in the last one because they're forced to do it. And if you're disciplined enough, you're putting money in your savings and your short-term. But all these 2 are missing. And so what then ends up happening, life happens, you ain't got enough money saved up, so you go and rob your future retirement self. Right? And so that is when you are saving fundamentally into these 4 places, then you don't really worry about investment being an issue because you know you can wake up at different timelines of your life and having access to money to do whatever you want to do. So again, if you're thinking investment, you're scared of investment and you have a 401k, you are investing your money already. Right? We just got to flip the perspective for you to see We're doing the same thing you're doing. We're just doing it in a non-retirement account because the retirement account has restrictions on when you can access it. The other account does not have restriction. You can access it whenever you want to, right? So that's a two different. Most people already invest in, but it's out of sight, out of mind. It's long term, so they're thinking about it a little different.
Also,
Okay.
to also add something to, I was shaking my head no immediately, just because one, another one, giving yourself grace is super important, but the other piece that we spoke about earlier is really being open minded. And I'll share a personal story. My dad,
Okay.
he's a Navy veteran, and in his 50s. This is after he's had a full working career. He worked in car sales for many years. He had a military career. He was open minded and was open to exploring what was possible. One thing that he didn't know was that as a military veteran, and also because of the psychological, the mental, the physical things that had from his time there, was that he was eligible for receiving disability pay. This was something that I have buddies that are in their 20s. They're still active duty, and they're like, oh yeah, I already have 100%. My dad wasn't until his 50s until he even knew that it was a possible thing. And what that allowed for was my dad, he was essentially able to retire. He loves working in car sales, but it's like, hey, when he was able to get his whole income plus some to be able to spend time with him and his lady, his dog, it was a no-brainer. He was able to move to Florida. He enjoyed his time. And then the trickle down effect of that was that also when I was getting on my MBA was that I was eligible for Chapter 35 benefits. And what that was that I was getting paid every month just to be in school. So you never know what's out there. You never know what's possible. It could be a benefit through your job that could get unlocked. A lot of times what Jimmy and I find is that people aren't even aware of what their pensions or what Social Security is going to do for them. That's really like mailbox money. Money's just going to come in no matter what, rain, sunshine, market up, market down. But being able to just get that clarity and really take the leap of faith that, hey, even if I haven't got every I dotted, every T crossed, I can figure it out because we've made it this far. I feel like our is the epitome of we'll figure it out, and we've excelled. When you look at our buying power, it's one of the strongest in the nation. So that means that cash flow and there's opportunity within our community. There's a lot of resources. So just being open-minded, giving yourself grace, I think those are really the two biggest things because it's never too late to start. And exactly what Jimmy said, we don't want to be 60 or we don't want to be 70 being like, hey, I still haven't yet, because also just as a look in the mirror, it's going to affect your kids. It's going to affect your grandkids. And a lot of times people are not fully aware that, hey, even if I do nothing, even if I am okay, you might be passing on that, you might be passing on also, and this is something that a lot of people don't talk about, poor financial habits. A lot of times when I speak with people, like one of my clients, she lost her dad at a very young age, before she was 5. And he had a very extensive life insurance policy that that pays her even to this day, and she's in her mid-20s. And it's like when we connected, she told me her story. It was a no-brainer for her to get life insurance.
Right.
Not dad, what he did set up generations, because I guarantee you that her children in the future, she's going to be like, hey, this is what happened to me. She probably will get life insurance on them at a young age, because you could get life insurance as early as 2 to 5 days old. So being able to take that leap is going to trickle down multi-generationally too, because people have been able to see your journey over the years, especially if you have kids that are 20, 30, they're old enough to have seen the world a little bit. They're going to understand hey, my parents did sacrifice a lot. They did give up a lot, and they might not have, it wasn't taught to them, but even through all that, they persevered and they got the job done, and they made sure that we were good to go. And I find that that's a super, super powerful emotional side to financial planning that a lot of people want to build generational wealth. I find that it's 70, 80% of people find it genuinely important that I connect with. The other part, we don't usually do work together, But a good chunk of the people that I connect with, they want to see multi-generational wealth. And it looks a multitude of different ways. But it
Okay.
starts with a conversation and really that leap of faith that I'll figure it out. And the next step is once you connect with someone that you trust, someone that you can actually add to your team, it's a will figure it out. And that's even
Yeah.
more.
To have that partnership, essentially. To have
100%.
someone that is in it with you who understands it and that can help you connect the dots where you may have some deficiencies. So thank you. Those are really great responses. We have roughly about 10 more minutes left. But the organization talks a lot about health at Healthy Heart Nation. But we do want to make sure that the community understands that health is more than just your physical health. You need financial health to also be able to contribute and to support society. Couple things that I would like to just bring out is I just love the level of confidence that you all speak and the passion that you have as it relates to what you are doing. And I think that you all will be just exceptional examples for young men who are looking to this path, as well as young women. But that level of passion that you all are connecting with is just phenomenal. So Chimmy, really quick, how do you see financial stress impacting physical and mental health, especially in underserved communities?
Man, that's a really I not only is it a good question, but it's I think this hits should hit everybody regardless, right? How many of us have been wanting to go to the gym and we can't go to the gym because we got to go to work, we got to clock in, right? How many of us or how many of us don't have time for the gym or eat good food because we're so busy working,
Yes, grinding.
grinding, right?
Mhm.
And we do a lot of work with nurses and doctors, um, and most of them are working a lot of hours and a lot of shifts, right? And they're worked out, and your doctor telling you to be healthy, but there's a stress
It's
from their
stressed
job,
out too, right?
right? From their job, right? So I took about a week off on the first week of April, and I took the time. I just shut down from everything, and also it was my mom's birthday. I lost my mom about almost 3 years
I'm
ago,
sorry.
and so I took 3 months off work because I could financially afford to do so.
You could
Also,
process because you had the money to be able to
and
take time to
also
process.
my
Yeah.
mom did leave a legacy behind as well, right? So
Mhm.
it's obviously I want to take that back, but
Okay.
life's gonna bring obstacles and challenges,
Mhm. Mhm.
and one that really needs us to slow down and just pause and just be. But if we're not in the financial place to, we keep pushing our bodies beyond the limit, and all that does is it creates an unhealthy heart. It creates mental stress, high blood pressure. Even how we communicate with our spouse, our kids, and children, it just we're not healthy enough. So I've noticed that when I'm not thinking about money and money is not a problem, I am the best self I can be.
Yes.
And that is
Mhm.
the foundation of the work we are doing. If money
Yeah.
was removed from the equation, what would you be truthfully doing with your life if you don't have to
Mm.
look for money? Right?
Yeah.
Most of us will be doing the things that are intangible to us, right? And so when you bring money back in the equation, now you're running a rat race. Everything is about I gotta pay my bills. It's constant stress. So we underestimate the power of financial stress to our life, and you can have more peace by having someone to help you sort out your situation, because a
Yeah.
lot of times we are in the funk, right? And when we're in
Mhm.
the funk, all you smell is funk.
Forest and
That's it.
trees.
That is it, right? And so,
Yeah.
part of the my favorite part about the work we do is I
Uh-huh.
get to slow people down just for a little
Mm.
bit. and they can have an out of body experience and see from the top what their situation is, and then we
Yes.
can then put them back in that in the world and allow for them to move with more intention.
I
Now,
love
when
that.
you're moving with intention, and it allows you to actually know, okay, this is what I'm actually hustling and I'm bustling toward. This is when it stops. This is when it ends. For
Yeah.
some people, it's knowing with that finish line, just knowing that gives you can see the pressure just drop. So
Mm. It's
it's
not getting worser. Right.
yes, have a financial plan.
Yeah.
If not, what is it? It's plan to fail or fail to plan. Right.
Got it.
So that's my response to that question. It's
Okay.
yeah.
All right. All right. So Jamal, as we close out National Financial Literacy Month, for you, what does financial empowerment look like? And not just financially, but holistically. What is that financial empowerment? What does that look like?
Great question. I would really say knowledge, and that's really the jumping board to so many things. One thing that stood out to me, especially because I'm from Sacramento, California. It's one of the most diverse cities in the world. However, one thing that you don't necessarily see out here at a super high level and like just across the board is almost like an expectation is Black excellence. Like
Mm.
moving out, living in the DMV area, I was out there like 8 years. It was just expectation. You walk into a building, you're going to see like at least 40% of the people, the executives being Black people, and it's a normal thing. And 40% is
Yeah,
low. It's probably in certain buildings, it's like 80, 100%. So
sure.
it's almost like excellence is the expectation. But the
Hmm.
first part, and really a lot of things, and one thing for me that really connected was really like cultural pride. What was really like knowing more about your history. And I remember
Yes.
uh, one class, Intro to Afro Studies, we were talking about how the importance of knowing your history, it actually builds your confidence. And
Hmm.
it's the same thing with finance. The more that you know,
Yes.
and also the more that you're aware of the pitfalls and the things that we've overcome. Knowing that
Right.
we have more than one Black Wall Street. It was all
Mm.
so me and my fiance,
Mm.
we engaged out in Wilmington, North Carolina. That was
Okay.
essentially a Black built, but also Black owned city until it was
Wow.
essentially taken from them.
Okay.
And even knowing that history of what's possible, what can be accomplished, I find that powerful in every phase of life. And finance is no different. Just knowing
Right.
that, like, for example, one thing that we do is we talk about people's lifetime earning potential, especially with people who are under 45. It's their biggest asset usually to be like, hey,
Mm.
I was talking to one of my friends earlier today about this. And it's like um, being able to see that, yes, I'm going to make more than $1 million in my career before I retire.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
there's a good chunk of people who never would have imagined that. But it's like, yeah, when you're able to actually map that out, gain the knowledge that yes, I I am a multi-million dollar asset, not only to my business, but also to my family, to my community. People carry themselves a lot with a lot more confidence. They carry themselves differently because it's not a
Yes.
hey, I'm just a random person. I'm a nobody. Whatever I do doesn't really matter. It's more so
Mm.
of a hey, I can make an impact. And imagine if not it's not just me knowing this. What if me and my three best friends knew this? What could us four do together? What type of impact could we all make? Because it's a trickle
Mhm.
effect, because
Yes.
imagine, let's say that you and your buddies are married, that's 8 people. Let's say that y'all have kids, that's even more people. Let's say parents are
Right.
living, and it starts to just really multiply and expand really quickly. So being able to
Mhm.
really give a baseline of what's relevant for your situation, what matters, and also removing some of the fluff. I find
Yeah.
that with a lot of the financial influencers, they're going to tell you to get 20 different types of trusts, open up 20 different types of accounts, and it's overwhelming. So it's like, how can you eliminate the noise, find out what's relevant for you? You can do that research yourself, but I find that the number one asset that people are fighting against is time. And if you can save time and
Yes.
devote that time to go to the gym, spend time with family, spend time with loved
And
ones.
and speaking of time, we're out. We're out of time.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
Exactly.
We have run out of time for this conversation, but what I want to do before we end is to just make sure that the audience understands how they can reach both of you. So, so Chimmy, if you can just kind of share with us a little bit about where they can reach you to learn more about what you're doing in your services.
Yeah, very simple. You can just simply type up my name, Chimmy Power, at Google. So
Okay.
my website should be up. And also, you can find me on LinkedIn. And if you wanted to email me, it's shimmy.power@nm.com. I post a lot of good stuff on LinkedIn daily, for the most part, almost daily.
Okay.
If you're looking to, and Jamal and I are partners, so
Yes.
if you're looking to get in touch with us and you're intimidated about your financial situation, I would encourage that you reach out regardless. And the reason why is this is a judgment free zone. And, just like you go to the doctor's there to help you and just understand. So you need someone you can trust, someone.
Mm.
So if it's better to reach out and know what your situation is. And then if you decide you want to act on it, that's on you. If you decide
Yeah.
not to act on it, that's also on you. But at least knowing is the first step first. So
Yeah.
that's my information. If you guys want to reach out, it's chimmy.power@nm.com, or it's just type my first name and last name, Chimmy Power, on Google. My website should come up with all my information on LinkedIn, and you can reach out to me there as well.
Okay. Thank you. And so Jamal, the same for you.
Yeah, very similar. Just Google my first and last name, JAMAAL Thompson. Um, the first the first link will be my Northwestern Mutual website. Probably like
Okay.
because there's a couple of Jamals out there. They play sports, so sometimes it pops up. But my LinkedIn, the first LinkedIn that you'll see, that's definitely going to be me as well. Very
Okay.
active. I post on Thursdays, Thompson Thursdays. So look out for a post coming out later today, as well as
Okay.
I have it. It's available, but I'm not too active on there. Jamal F. Thompson on Instagram, but very active
Okay.
on LinkedIn, very active on my website, as well as email. It is the best way to reach me via professional conversation, and that's jamal.thompson@nm.com. The website is jamal.thompson.nm.com. So if you want
Okay.
to use an at, if you want to go to the website, use a period.
All right. Well, thank you both so much for joining the conversation today. You all are actually the first in our series of the financial discussions, and we will be looking to build out some series around younger people and money, middle-aged people and money, and older people and money. And we want to definitely ensure that we invite you all back to join those conversations. But again, thank you so much for joining Healthy Heart Nation. You can find us on social media at Healthy Heart Nation or myhhn.org. Thank you very much. We'll be back next month for our next series.
Thank you for having us, and y'all have a good one.
Hey, great seeing
Okay.
you today. Have a blessed day, everyone.
Bye bye.